Everybody, and welcome to this week's HackerKast. I'm here with, my name is Jeremiah Grossman. I'm here with Robert Arsenic Hansen and Matt Johansen. We're going to talk about more stuff, application security, like we do every week, try to make all this complicated technical software security stuff easy to understand, because this is like so much going on in this industry that always got to have a nice, easy way to assimilate knowledge week to week, because, you know, who has time to keep up with all this stuff, really? So we got 3 news stories to cover today, so 3 really cool things. The first one is probably the most important one, because it could affect a lot of things, is something called Rowhammer. Rowhammer. It's something that affects memory. So this is a very complicated but very cool research coming out of Google Zero. So Robert was studying up on this one. So what do we got here?
Yeah, so it looks like, if you're familiar, there was an attack a while back using randomness coming from the star that we orbit around the sun will come in and like individual photons or whatever will get just in between these 2 places, physical places in memory, and cause it to flip a bit from being a 0 to being a 1, or from 1 0, whatever. This is called bit flipping, and it was really interesting research. There was actually all kinds of ways that you could take advantage of it if you kind of knew ahead of time what you were trying to take over, like .com, for instance. So this is a little different, using the same sort of principle. Because the circuitry is so close together, if you write to memory over and over and over again, like really, really rapidly, you can cause this to become like a 1 to a 0 or 0 to a 1, the one right next to it on the same row. That's the row part of the Rowhammer. So in server environments, this is actually probably the most interesting implementation. In server environments where you have like a multi-user system, like virtual host or whatever, you can theoretically read memory or change memory from other virtual hosts or different virtual machines or whatever on the same physical device, which is really terrible, because that could sort of negate the whole security of a hypervisor, depending on how this ends up playing out in long term. So we'll have to see how that works out.
So Google got some exploits running, but it only affects what type of memory. So what were the exploits and the memory types?
It's a DDR3 DRAM that's exploitable. But we were asking around on Twitter, and it looks like the 2 biggest, 2 out of 3 biggest, EC2, Amazon's EC2, Rackspace, and Google's App Engine are the 3 biggest sort of cloud providers out there. And the only one that we don't have confirmation on is Google, but we would assume they probably also have thought of this in some context. All the other ones are using ECC memory, which has error checking on it. So they sort of identify this type of error as it's happening and correct it. So it's not going to be vulnerable. So only about 10% of RAM currently on the market is vulnerable, but if you run in this environment, you should probably consider changing out your RAM.
So the one I thought it was they were demonstrating the exploits were local privilege escalation. So best they could tell, best they could tell it wasn't remote, but all the researchers are like, let's get in on this because we'll make it remote.
Yeah, I mean, Cisco has already issued a statement saying that there's some environments where they do execute code, remote code, as a user level, a user LAN type situation, which could in fact get access to some administrative privileges on these particular devices, so mainly firewalls.
So if you're running, DRAM on a shared hosting environment, what do? You have to like change your memory to be secure?
Yeah, or change your host. Right, that's the problem. Yeah.
So somebody's going to make some money on memory.
That's what I think. I think it's a great opportunity for a very select few RAM producers who are going to make a bunch of money. I think who's going to hurt the most are those stupid smaller hosting providers who unfortunately didn't see this coming and haven't already run into error correction issues.
I didn't get through the full report from Google, but what were they recommending for fixes to this other than replace your memory? Did they have anything good?
No, I didn't see anything interesting there. No.
Yeah, so using hardware to further memory exploitation, so local priv escalation using DRAM error stuff. And this kind of goes to show you, like you find these little reliability bugs, and sooner or later they become exploitable, like the off by 1 errors and the null byte stuff. Like
it's super common.
Yeah.
So business continuity is almost directly related to security. It just takes one small thing to turn it into an actual security bug.
It's like every bug bounty that you see Mozilla pay out nowadays is used after free bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, not too long ago, those weren't exploitable, and then all of a sudden they became exploitable. All right, so that's Rowhammer. So you're hammering your memory rows until the bit flips. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, there was something with uTorrent. So what's going on with uTorrent?
Yeah, this one was nasty. This uTorrent lost a lot of market share this week. The internet was enraged specifically about this, a few days ago. So so uTorrent, when you installed the latest update, came with a nice little packaged companion of software that happened to be a Bitcoin miner. Without telling the users, of course, right? So the Bitcoin miner they were using was EpicScale, if you guys are familiar with that. And so, yeah, if you, let me get the build number, 3.4.2, that version of uTorrent, if you installed the update, you got a little bit of EpicScale with you, which was, will slam your performance of your PC while using it. I just have to read this quote. Well, of course, it was like buried in the user license agreement, but I got to read the quote from from uTorrent here. So it said, EpicScale is a great partner for us to continue to generate revenue for the company while contributing funds to a good cause.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Namely our pocketbooks.
Yeah.
So what after the internet gets upset, what does uTorrent do?
Nothing yet. A new version hasn't come out. They just said you can take out that folder if you want and uninstall it, but it's not that easy. There's a lot of weird process deletion and lingering stuff that happens, so people are not happy.
I can imagine.
Yeah, you get some fun extra software. And there's the third story, which I thought was pretty damn cool because we like browse with security. So this one, the headline here, I'll just read it, is Chrome Same Origin Policy Bypass Using SVG. So this was a CVE-rated vulnerability. So this is kind of cool. So Chrome web browser, same origin policy, which is, well, it is the security policy of the browser. So if you're on one web page, code running on one web page, you don't want it reading and pulling data from another domain and another web page. So if you beat the same origin policy, you have a very nasty security environment. This is what cross-site scripting does, cross-site request forgery does. Now, so this particular exploit is really cool. So what they did is they used the HTML5 canvas functionality for images and things, and it's SVG, what was that, scalable vector graphics format, something like that. Anyway, so what he does is the would-be victim goes to the bad guy's web page, he sources in an image from a different domain and writes it to the page as an HTML file, the image as an HTML file to the current page, and then uses JavaScript to pull out the bytes from the image in a base64 format. So what this means, the same origin policy bypass, you get access to image data cross-domain. So not text data, you can't read banking information in another domain, but you can get private photos and private images and perhaps do login detection based upon access control on different images.
Or webmail images or all kinds of stuff.
So any auth images that you may not want to be accessed cross-domain can be with this bug. I thought that was pretty dang cool. So to his credit and Google's credit, this was a CVE bug, so they patched it, and so it's fixed. But it was a very cool technique because we might be able to use similar techniques, open up other exploits in different browsers, because maybe it doesn't only affect Chrome, maybe it affects Firefox, Safari, Opera.
This really reminds me of the pixel perfect timing attack that was on last year's top 10 web hacks. It was a Black Hat talk last year. That's what he was using some weird offbeat SVG stuff to do timing attacks, to do login detection, and read anything that was frameable. Right? If he could frame your website, he could read the whole frame out of it and bypass same origin also.
The neat part about this is X-frame options doesn't actually help you.
I know, that is really cool.
Yeah, neat. So this actually does work in really interesting situations. I don't think there's too many sites that are vulnerable to this because you do have to predict where the URL is going to be. But when it's going to be vulnerable, it's going to be bad, like a photo bucket type situation where it's like private photos. And
well, the researcher made mention of that. They give it a medium rating, which is kind of weird. But if you know the site that you're going after in the images, I mean, it's a high-rated vulnerability for the user and of that site. It's just medium for the browser, because
it's kind of rare.
Yeah. So, so that's there. That's fixed. But those bugs are still there. Same origin policy bypasses are there, and that's really the only thing the browser has to offer. Why we can't get away from this is a little difficult.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 stories of the week. We got, memory's vulnerable. We have software having special fun toys when you download things like uTorrent. And then we got same origin bypasses in the browser. So just another day in InfoSec land.
Oops.
Look for a bonus video on Freak. We decided that we're not going to try to squeeze a big SSL bug like that into a HackerKast.
So we research this stuff, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody. Please rate and subscribe. Thank you.
See you.